Hey everyone, welcome to episode 34 of Gear Talk. This is the show that I do every other week, usually on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, where I talk about the geekier side of rollerblading. Like to get really deep into frame technology, wheels, old skates, why people made design decisions with internal shock absorption or heel pads or lace-up liners. This week, super excited. I've got some new skates that I'm going to share with you. Actually, some old skates, new to me, but old skates that I'm really interested in sharing and seeing what you think about it. As always, if you have a comment throughout the show, please feel free to ask. I love answering your questions. It could be something completely random. Try to keep them skating related. But make sure that you tag me in them at Back to Blading so that I can see them in the chat. Sometimes there's a lot of text in the chat and it's hard to keep up. But if you tag me in them, I'll be sure to notice you. Okay, so to get started, every time I do a Gear Talk, I always like to start with my current setup and talk a little bit about what I like, what I don't like, why I made the decision to skate the way that I do. And this week is no different. I'm going to start with my aggressive setup. I haven't done a lot of big wheels lately. You know, I've been on my Seba with my ground control frames and my 80mm compass wheels. I'm really happy with that setup. Whenever I go out skating with my daughter, that's the setup that I go for. It's just a nice, chill setup. I think 4x80 is a really great ride. And the Seba boots, you know, it's probably the best UFS boot for all-around skating. It's not super great for grinder blading. I feel like it's a little stiff. The carbon is a little stiff for me. But, you know, for recreational skating, for mushroom blading, for bigger wheel skating, I think the Seba is probably the best UFS skate that you can get right now. For aggressive, though, I am still on my Razors SL Navies. And I made a few changes from last time I talked with you, and I wanted to talk to you about it. So here we go. Where are they? Here they are. All right, so if you did not see my video last week, this is a completely different skate. The only thing that I haven't changed is the shell. It's crazy to think, but this shell is the only thing that's left of that original Razors SL Navy. So I'm doing a review on these, and I gotta be honest, like I really think that the shell, the sole plate, the buckle, the cuff, the Royale groove, I mean, everything there is great, but that's really where it stops. If you like Featherlight 3 frames, they're Featherlight 3s. You know, there's no mystery there. They're the same Featherlight 3 that you're used to. A very deep groove, great for anti-rocker skating, great for doing Royales that you don't have to get down super boot down, super low. Really easy to get boot down with a Royale on the Featherlight 3s with this setup. The wheels it came with were pretty bad. They felt just cheap, kind of slid around. They also had a very flat profile, which I'm not a huge fan of. And the grind blocks that they come with, the little barrel grind things, I don't like those at all. They don't spin, so there's no point in having anti-rocker, in my opinion. And they grind, so they stick out past the frame. I think they're in the house. No, do I have them here? No, they're in the house. They stick out past the frame, so when you skate them, you actually grind down those grind blocks. It's not ideal. So first thing that I did is I swapped them out with 50/50 frames. Full disclosure, I own 50/50, so take it with a grain of salt. But any frame, in my eyes, is going to be an upgrade. I'm just not a huge fan of that deep groove. I feel like it's kind of lazy maybe. For me, I like to get boot down, and when I was doing Royale tricks with those skates, I felt like I wasn't really boot down. I was kind of standing up, and it just didn't feel right. I think this has a really nice angle. The angle that I get with the balance frames and the SLs feels really good. It's a nice solid 45 degrees. Feels great when I'm doing Royale tricks. Feels great when I'm doing back farv. I can really hit it and just kind of roll over and lock down on this backslide plate. I absolutely love a back farv with this skate. This is a really great setup for that. This is actually my back farv Sayo too. So yeah, this is just a really great feeling. Highly recommend it if you haven't already. Try out some SLs. I think they're going to really improve your Royale tricks. I love them for Royale tricks. I think this is a really great design. I'm skating the 60 millimeter Fitty Fitty samples. These are 60-90. They are the wheels that we're making for Stefan. They're in production now. They should be here in a couple of weeks. Nothing to report yet. I don't have the ship date, but I know that they're in production this week. So I should have them probably end of the month. It might be first week in November. It just depends on how quickly they get here. But stay tuned for that. They're going to be really cool. They're all black, 60 millimeter rounded profile. Really nice profile. I think you're going to really like them. And then I have Fitty Fitty bearings in, of course, because they're just really nice. Anyway, so that's the frames. From the upper part, so I left the laces and the buckle alone. I didn't tweak any of that. But I swapped in the Rain V3 liners. So let me pull these out and show you what I've got. So these are the Rain V3s. I got these at Oak City Skate Shop. They are $80, I think. 75 bucks, 80 bucks. These are actually a size 10. I don't know if he had a size 10.5, but to be honest, they fit my feet pretty well. I didn't even notice that they were the wrong size when I got them, so I'm just going to stick with them. I would much rather have a smaller liner than a bigger liner with my foot moving around a lot. The outside is made of a really nice protective material. The bottom is a really hard, rubbery sort of material. The back heel area is really nice. It's not going to lift. It's got this kind of like faux leather rubber sort of thing. So when they go into the boot, you know, they don't lift up. They lock really nicely into the cuff. I think these were designed specifically for the SL skate. If not the SL, then for the Shift. And it shows. I mean, they really fit that skate perfectly. They do have the little neoprene toe. By that I mean you can see my fingers pushing out up here. When you put your foot in, you're not limited by the top of the liner where the toes are. You can kind of put your feet in and squish them forward a little bit. Still going to feel really nice. Really good for sizing if you're in between sizes. You can size down a little bit like I did. It's got the fastener up here instead of all the way down here. This thing isn't going to slide in just like the other one did. Slide in. Do I have the other one out here? I do. Let me show you what the stock one looks like. So these are the stock liners. And you can see where this thing is sliding in. It's just a horrible design. It really just slides right in. It pinches my toes. It is not good. These, on the other hand, there's just so much more material. You can see the distance of the material. Huge improvement. It's like a full 2 inches of material that it goes up. So it's not going to pinch in your toes. It's going to fit really nicely in there. This tongue is really nice and supportive. The insole that comes with it is nice. Has a little shocky thing back here. It's got a stronger, like plastic molded area here that keeps your foot nice and locked in. No issues with these. And then the ultimate nice thing is it has laces. So I do lace up my liners. It's not a full lace like the Intuitions were or like the blank liners. What I do is when I slide my foot in, the way that it's designed, you could just kind of pull and it'll tighten it up by itself. You don't have to go, lace by lace. Pull, tighten it up, tie it in, and then I tie the boot around it. This thing felt really great in my skate, and I felt like I skated really solid with these. I think if you are up for getting a pair of the SL skates, you should definitely look into getting the Razor's V3 liners. I think these, they're just a really great design. If you like a VCut liner, if you like a lace-up liner, if you like a fitted liner, I mean, you can find worse liners, that's for sure. and they're $80, which is a lot. I mean, if you already bought, a pair of SLs for $220, I bet you could swap the liners with a lot of shops. I bet they'd take the stock liners and give you some of these, but it's still going to be what, $60 or so. I mean, they're not gonna give you a straight swap for these from these. These probably didn't cost much at all to make. These are really nice. The last thing that I did was I swapped out the shock absorber. So in the bottom of these skates, so this Razors SL is a flat bottom boot. And what that means is the mounting area for your foot, where your foot goes, is completely flat. So the bottom of the skate is flat. And if you ever watched there was a video of the making of this skate. And this sole plate is really the only thing that's keeping this frame on. So these screws mount to the boot, and then these sole plates mount to the boot as well, and they kind of cinch it in, and this sole plate is what this frame mounts to. So if you look on the inside, that's the sole plate you're seeing. That's not the boot itself, it's the sole plate, which makes it a super low skate, super low ride. It feels like you're skating directly on the wheels, kind of like that feeling that I get with the Seba skate with the carbon. If you're skating carbon with like a metal frame, very similar feeling to that. But what's nice is that because it's a flat bottom, you can adjust the heel lift by changing out the shock absorbers. So these are the shocks that come with it. These are the standard SL shocks. This is a size 10 and 11. It says that it's a heel wedge. Don't really know. I guess that's true. But this is the standard shock that comes with it. It is squishy. It is like hard jello. It is thick. So I actually brought my my measuring tape out here this time. Didn't bring the calipers. Probably should have. But it looks like 3/4 of an inch, 7/8 of an inch. So it's a pretty thick shock absorber. One thing for sure, when you're doing gaps with these skates, you can feel that shock absorber coming into play. Like, it doesn't feel like you're hitting anything. It feels like you're landing on pillows. And that's a great feeling if you're really into gaps, if you're really into, I don't know, anything that's going to be a rougher terrain. You're going to have a much smoother ride with something like this than you would with just straight plastic. The problem is it was too much of a forward lean for me. So coming from the USD7, I was used to the USD7, which I really like. The heel raise on the USD7 isn't much. And I actually swapped out the shock absorbers from the USD7 into my Razors SL so that I could have that same heel raise. These are the ones that came on my USD7. You can see the Civica logo in the back, which is completely unrelated to any current brands. But here's the shock absorber. I'll measure that real quick. It is probably 5/8 of an inch. So you've got a whole 1/4 inch extra material in this shock than you do in this shock, which means that at your heel, you're leaning forward an extra 1/4 inch. That might not sound like a lot, but if you're used to a specific style and feeling so that all of your weight and your balance is more on your heels, as soon as you get one of these thicker heel plates, shock absorbers, you're going to feel like you're leaning forward. And I kept feeling like that. It's a very similar feeling to what I got with the Rollerblade New Jacks, where it had a very thick insole and it felt like I was just leaning forward, and it was no good. You get this digging your toe into the ground feeling. You get this sluggish feeling. Some people might like that. Some people are used to it. For me, I like to be a little bit more on my heels when I'm skating. Maybe that's a hockey thing. I don't know. But this shock absorber was perfect for me. And I skated this shock absorber. Absolutely loved this shock absorber. This is the shock absorber that I recommend. You can get some of these at Oak City. I'm sure that other shops get them. Oak City, I know, has some of these in stock because I asked him. I told him that I was really impressed with the feeling of the shock and wanted to know if he had extras. So if you can't find a USD7, get yourself some of these Civica shock absorbers. These are the ones that come in the USD7. If you don't like your Razors SL, definitely get some of these. Give them a shot. It's a much better feeling, in my opinion. It's going to be less cushiony, but I don't know that that's a bad thing. I think these are very cushiony to begin with. This shock is probably the one that you want. So that's my Razors SL. I'm really, really loving those skates. But of course, I'm not really skating the skates the way that they were anymore. I'm skating this hybrid model of an upgraded liner, an upgraded shock absorber, an upgraded frame, an upgraded wheel, upgraded bearings. I mean, the only thing left is the boot. But the boot is amazing. So definitely, if you can find a pair of SLs for cheap, get them boot only. Unless you like Featherlight 3s. I mean, they're fine frames. Get yourself a pair of Razors SLs. I think they're a really great skate. Upgrade that liner because you're not going to like the stock liner. And try swapping out the heel pad, the shock absorber, if you don't feel like they're skating quite the way that you like. If you feel like you're leaning forward a little bit more, try the other shock absorber. That might make a world of difference. I know that it did for me. All right. Thank you all for joining me tonight. It's a great evening here in North Carolina. I'm extremely tired. It's been a very long week at work. My wife is also sick with the flu, so it's been a lot of running around and trying to take care of the whole family, which is a little tiring. But I am super excited to break up the week with you and spending some time here. If you have any questions, please leave them in the chat. Make sure that you tag me so that I can answer them. And I'm going to keep going. So let's see. Talk about these skates. So a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, my friend Mark sent me a pair of skates that he thought that I would like. I'd never seen in real life. I've seen pictures, but I've never held them. And I wanted to share them with you and talk a little bit about the history of them. I might get some things wrong. I'm definitely not an expert at this, but I can let you know what I think and the way that I feel the history went. Corrections are appreciated, but here we go. So these are the Salomon FSK skates. So I don't know what year these came out, but these are probably like the second or third generation Salomons. So the original Salomons that came out, they were, just regular old recreational skates. You couldn't really tell the difference between them and any other recreational skate. But then they came out with the, what were they called? Their first ST skates, the ST8, I think, and the ST9, I think. They were the tan ones and the blue ones. Chat room, correct me if I'm wrong. And those were the first aggressive skates. Those were the first skates that kind of looked like this. They had that internal shock absorber. They had the fast lacing system. They had the really nice liner. They weren't UFS, so they were a proprietary Salomon frame that had this whole area was replaceable. And they mounted using these, little screws here, the anti-rivets, I guess they would call them. These are actual rivets, so you can't really do anything with these. But these are fitness skates. They weren't really designed for aggressive. Then in 2000 or 2001, I think 2000, they came out with the Aaron Feinberg skate. And the Aaron Feinberg skate was the first skate that was UFS. Salomon helped design the UFS standard. And they made sure that us at 50/50 had a pair of Salomon skates so that we could test our frames to make sure that they rode correctly on the UFS. And UFS is this. So this is a 50/50 UFS frame. UFS is the frame mounting standard. So it's 165 millimeters, 167 millimeters from 1 to 2 between these two bolts. It is 20 millimeters in diameter. It is 3 millimeters down. And that's really it. The channel should be 41 millimeters. Sometimes they aren't. But they should be 41 millimeters. But otherwise, so long as you keep to this standard with these two bolts being mounted 167 millimeters apart, you can make yourself a frame. And I've seen a lot of people making their own frames now. They're either 3D printing them. They're making them out of aluminum. there's a lot of creativity happening in the blading scene, mostly for aggressive though. So the UFS standard came from the need for an interchangeable aggressive frame system. But that's not to say that UFS was only used for aggressive. So when Salomon came out with it, we assumed that they were just going to use it for their aggressive skates. But then they came out with all of these FSK skates. So this is probably like a second generation UFS. They're really nice. So I have a pair that doesn't have the frames mounted. I'll show them to you real quick, and I'll talk a little bit about some other fitness UFS skates. So the insole is gone, but the liner's still here. Is this a one-piece? Yeah. So this is a built-in one-piece liner. This might have been right when maybe they got sued by K2 and they couldn't do this anymore. I'm not really sure. Probably some those big companies with their patents. They got really crazy about that patent stuff back then. But I mean, look at this thing. So it's got the hard shell at the bottom. It's got the soft at the top. It's got the 45-degree strap. This is a nice solid plastic 45-degree strap. So when you strap it in, it comes really nice. What's crazy is it is UFS. So this is the same mounting standard that you would find in any aggressive skate at the time. So this is 167 millimeters from 1 to 2. It is 20 millimeters around in diameter, and it is 3 millimeters high, which means that this aggressive frame would fit perfectly on here if I wanted to, which is crazy. I don't know if anybody ever skated these for aggressive. They don't really have a sole to speak of. They were just designed for skating. So if you were interested in rollerblading, you would get a pair of these. It looks like they have an internal shock absorber built in, because I can't depress it. And this liner doesn't come out, so I think this is just the way that it is. And I'm sure that these skates probably don't skate super well anymore. Maybe they do. Salomon made some really amazing stuff that held the test of time. That's why you see so many people skating Salomons now. Says that there's shock absorption in here. I gotta believe it. I can't depress it to make it feel like it's a shock absorber, but I gotta assume that it's in there. These frames that came with them, so these frames are pretty great. Again, I don't know what version these frames are, but it looks like they use the same 8mm axles as the aggressive frames. They even have a little groove. You see this little groove? I don't know what you're going to do with this, but I don't know. I mean, you got to do some crazy UFO, like get down really low if you're riding 80mm wheels to do any sort of grinds with this thing, but maybe that's what they were planning on doing. They fit a maximum of 80mm wheel. It was 250mm from front to back, but you could adjust them. So I think that this was 250, and then you could make them a little smaller, which is probably down to 240. So you can rocker these in. Not a lot of frames have rockering in and out anymore. They have the middle wheels up and down so that you can have more like a banana rocker. But front and back, that's a really interesting concept. It means that it's a shorter wheelbase, which not a lot of people really care about, but I think that more people should. I think the length of the frame makes a huge difference, especially if you're skating anti-rocker or something. It makes a huge difference having just a slightly shorter wheelbase. You get much better turning radius when you are skating anti-rocker. These say that they were made out of a carbon composite. I don't really know what that means, but it's a really nice material. It might be the same material that the Salomon sole plates were made out of. I don't know. But yeah, they're great. And they're UFS. So this frame will fit on any UFS skate. So if you have a pair of Majestic 12s, if you have a pair of Seba CJs, you could put this frame on, mount it up with some wheels, and go skate. That's what's so crazy about UFS. With so much hate about the placement, it still is a viable standard that you could still use whatever frames are UFS compatible from back in the days. You can use them today. So this is the Salomon UFS frame that came with this skate. I have a few other Salomon frames I wanted to share. So first of all, there's the aggressive. Where's my Salomon? Oh, here it is, way over here. Oops, let me get it real quick. So this was probably around the same time. This is the STI Pro. Very similar look, right? So you can compare this FSK skate with this Salomon skate, and the whole front area is very similar to the way this is. It's got that woven area, the soft boot style, probably around the same time frame. Again, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but probably around the same time frame that this came out, these came out. Looks like it's got the same lacing system and everything. Very similar look and feel, but this is the FSK style. This is the aggressive style. And these were pretty great. I never skated these. I found these at a Play It Against Sports. Amazing quality, right? They're still in perfect condition. They were probably skated twice. Still have mold lines on these Shane Scour or Billy Prislin Liberty Core wheels. The bearings are still pretty clean. It's pretty crazy. So this is a very similar skate. This is that Salomon that I was talking about. It has the removable liner. So a little different there. This one actually does have a removable liner, whereas that one didn't. I don't think. Unless I'm not pulling it hard enough. No, it's not going anywhere. But you can see that around that time, Salomon was really killing it. They were doing everything that they could, and almost every one of their skates was UFS. Super crazy. I also got these. Oops. Let me grab it. These. So these are also Salomon FSK frames. These are 247. So they're 247 from 1 to 4. What's interesting about these frames is they're just like these. So they're designed for FSK. But they're aluminum. So they're a little bit lighter. Not really, just by a little bit. A lot stiffer. So you can't really squish these. It's aluminum. I can definitely, even with the axles, squish the heck out of these. What's interesting about these is these were a high-low. So you had different size wheels for the different placement of the wheels. So in the back you had bigger wheels. You would ride 80 millimeter wheels in the back, and you'd ride 76 millimeter wheels in the front. And the reason for that is when you're skating fast, you're more on your toes. So you want a slightly smaller wheel so that you can accelerate a little faster. When you're on your heels and you're coasting, you're going, turning and stuff like that, you're coasting. So you want a slightly bigger wheel, which would give you more coast. So you want the 80 mils in the back. At least that was the theory. I don't know if it was ever proven. I know that a lot of hockey skates use this. I used this frame for hockey. I really liked skating these, playing hockey. I don't know what boots I was skating back in then. It was probably Thrones or Cyrus or something like that. But I loved these frames, and these frames were a lot of fun. I wish that you could still find these frames. I'm sure that there are a few of them on Blade Trade. It's weird that they are 80 and 76, but I feel like that's just kind of one of the fun things about these frames. And again, they're UFS, so you can put them on any skate that's UFS. Yeah, Salomon was short-lived in our industry, but they made such a huge impact. The waves that they created are still being felt now. And I'm really fortunate to have these skates here. I hope that I can collect more Salomons in the future, not just the aggressive stuff, but the fitness stuff. I feel like I don't know much about the fitness side of Salomon, and they were killing it. So thank you so much, Mark, for sending these skates out. I really appreciate it, and if any of you find some crazy Salomons that you need me to have, send me a message, and we can talk. So while we're talking about UFS and fitness, let me go through a couple comments and questions, and I will answer them, and then I'll get back. I want to talk a little bit more about different wheel setups that you can have for big wheel blading and fitness skating, but sticking with UFS, which is something a little interesting. So let me take a look at the questions real quick and see if anybody has anything interesting to ask. Carlos, new Rems next review. I do have a pair on order. I don't know when they're going to come in. I think they're going to come in on Friday, maybe Monday. This weekend, I'm skating my SLs, though. I'm still going to skate the SLs. I might switch them out for a flat setup. I really love skating flat, and I want to skate the flat setup again. But definitely really interested in the Rems. I've never skated Rems before. For those of you who don't know, Rems released this week their new skate. I think it hit on Monday, and people started getting them on Tuesday. So it is a Rems 2.5, I think that's what it's called. It is an all-black look, completely black boot, black sole plates, black everything. It's got this little black widow on the back, so it's got the little red, like hourglass-looking spider on the back. It looks really great. I wasn't a huge fan of the black and gray Rems, the last version, but these look really good. I don't know anything about Rems, so this is going to be a really interesting review. I know that they come out every couple of years, and they're only like one every couple of years. So it's not like they're this huge mass-produced, like a Majestic 12 or like a Razor's SL that comes out, every 3 or 4 months with a new color. There's like one version of Rems every 2 years. So the black ones are the first ones that I've been around for, that I've been doing reviews. The black ones are also the first ones that I've been really interested in. So I have a pair of the size 44s on order. I hope that they fit, and they should be here Friday, maybe Monday. I hope to get the first impressions video done next weekend. So not this coming Saturday, but next Saturday. I hope to get in there and skate them, because I'm really curious. Rems is such a different skate than anything else. And the people who skate Rems are passionate about Rems. I got to know why. I got to figure out what's so special about these skates. And I hope that I can figure that out. Brian Allison, do you have a skinny boy liner that you can compare to the Rain V3? I'm looking for a better, thinner liner for the 908. I do. Let's see. I think the skinny boys are in my Aeons. So I don't know what you need to know. These are the skinny boy liners, and these are, where did they go? There's so many things out right now. I lost my liners. Here they are. These are the Rains. Quick comparison. I think the skinny boys are around the same price. Real quick comparison. This one is definitely a more firm liner. This skinny boy is very floppy. There's a lot more rigidity in this this V3 than the skinny boy. In saying that, the look is very similar for sizing. It looks like it's almost the same design. Very, very similar design. They both feature the neoprene tongue, so you're able to stick your toes out. The Rain has a much solider sole. This is just a material, like just a soft material. This is a very hard, like a rubbery material, so it's not going to move around. There's no rubber anything on the skinny boy. This has it on the heel, and it has it on the ankles. So you would be hard-pressed to pull this out of your skate. These fall out of my skates all the time. So far as the tongue, I think they're both about the same. This one's a little more rigid. The Rain is a little more rigid, but they're both about the same. I don't really know how to tell the difference with tongues. This one does look like it comes up a little higher. The Rain comes a little higher up. There is more of a V-cut tongue, if that's a thing, on the skinny boy, which is interesting. I never had a problem with these, though. They always felt pretty good. They're both about the same in the back, same V-cut look. The side cuffs, the Rain is definitely stiffer. There's like hard material in there. Not hard, but definitely less flexible material in there. And there's a little ridge on the top half of the rain liner, whereas the Skinny Boy is the same material that goes from the bottom all the way up. I don't know what that's for. Maybe to get your little ankle bones in there, Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the rain liner might be a little thicker overall. I think Skinny Boy is very, very thin, especially around the feet. Yeah, I think they're both very similar. I think this is going to be a more rigid feeling than the Skinny Boy, but very comparable in design. I think they're going to be the same amount for downsizing. I think they're going to be the same amount for the cuff protection and the comfort up top. I think where it really shines is the rigidity. The Skinny Boy is going to fit more like a sock, whereas this is going to fit more like a loafer, like a harder, like leather sort of loafer, like a slipper that you slide your foot in. This feels more like that. I hope that answered your question. Sean Michelson, I want to say the FSK came out in 01. I remember seeing them at Londo Mondo in Chicago. Yeah, that's probably about right. I think it was like the second generation of the UFS stuff. I think UFS came out in 2000, so that's probably about right. Yeah, the timing around then and non-aggressive stuff. I really had no idea about the non-aggressive side of skating back then, as I'm sure a lot of you didn't. I knew the Coyotes, which were the Coyotes the rollerblade ones, where they were the Big Cats and the Coyotes. There were two different off-road skates. Those were the only non-aggressive skates that I knew that any of these other skate companies made. And they were just because they were laughable, like these huge wheels. And I mean, look at us now. We're riding big wheels again, but it was very different back then. Dr. W rides again. Do you think with the popularity of the Salomon skate that we might see the company caving to demand and trying to remake the skate anew? I've heard the molds may have been destroyed. Great question, actually. I meant to say these molds have not been destroyed. These molds are owned by Powerslide. And Powerslide teased a version of this skate called the Quantum in their 2019 catalog. Nobody has seen the Quantum, at least that I know of. I don't know that these skates are ever going to come out. I don't know why they don't come out. But these molds, as far as I know, are still alive, and they're fine. The aggressive mold, this is the one that's dead. Yeah, I don't know that it's ever going to come back. I think that Salomon is a company that looks to maximize profits, and even if they could bring back, for a single run, what is that going to make them in the long run? It's not going to make them as much money as they can make just by focusing on skis or whatever else they make now. I think rollerblading is a very niche sport now, which is great for the small guys like me and like them and like Sola and like Wish and Razors, where we can make these really like artisanal style, like, handcrafted frames, or, us experimenting with different wheel profiles. It's a really great time for that sort of thing because we have a market that can support us and they're passionate about skating. I don't know that Salomon was ever really passionate about skating. I think they were passionate about making money. And when the money dried up, they kind of left. And that's fine. We need people like that who are just in it to make high quality, big brand skates. K2 and aggressive. I don't know that K2 is, passionate about aggressive. I think they're questionably passionate about skating. But we need skates from K2 so that K2 with their distribution can get into the Big Five sporting goods, the Dick's Sporting Goods, the Sport Chalet, if that's still around. There's a need for everything, and I think Salomon definitely fit that need. Unfortunately, right now, that need is very thin. If some big box store has a pair of skates, it is from one brand. You'd be hard-pressed to find multiple brands at a big box store. Back in the days, though, they would have them. They would have a Rollerblade, and they would have a Salomon. They would have a K2, and they would have a Rossi's. Like, there was a bunch of different skate brands across the board. I can't see Salomon getting back into blading until blading is really big again. And I don't know what really big is. I'm never going to count Salomon out, but I don't have any desire or any hope that they're going to come back. I think that they're happy doing what they're doing. They're making tons of money doing what they're doing. They really don't need to be in blading. They're not losing money by not being in blading. I think that there's just no, I don't know. I don't want to be depressing about it, but I don't think we need Salomon anymore. I think that Salomon definitely made a huge impact when they were here, but they're not here anymore, and that's fine. Like, there's plenty of Salomon boots out there that people can get, and thankfully they made them so solid that they're still amazing boots, and people skate them all the time. But I don't know that bringing out more boots is going to make any difference. Eli Wolf, I have the Rosie's Majestic 12, and I tried on some Chris Haffey Eulogy wheels, and the wheel was too wide. Do you know any good thin wheels I could try? Too wide. So the Rosie's Majestic 12, I have these. These are not the Majestic 12. These are the Volo, but they're the Majestic 12. These are the frames that usually come with the Majestic 12. These are 58s. If you are riding a 58 millimeter wheel on the Rosie's Majestic 12, you should have no problem. If you mean that they are rubbing on the top, I don't know that Eulogy makes a wheel that's bigger than a 59, right? Is it a 58, the Haffeys? I think the Haffeys are 58s. If they're too wide that you can't fit them in the frames, that's a different story. So wheels are typically 24 millimeters from left to right. Let's get a wheel. This is always a good wheel to show. So this is a standard inline skate wheel. It's 24 millimeters from left to right. And that is a standard for wheels. I can actually, I don't have my calipers, but you can see with this measuring tape that doesn't have millimeters, so it doesn't really matter. Just take my word for it, it's 24 millimeters. Find one with bearings. Do I have one with bearings? So if you look at a wheel and it's got the little ridges on the inside, the two for the bearings, bearings are standard 7 millimeters wide. And then that little frame spacer, that bearing spacer that goes on the inside, that's 10 millimeters wide. So 10 and then 7, 7, you've got your 24 millimeters wide. The width of a frame should be 24 millimeters on the inside. So if you have your frame spacers in and you slide, this has built-in frame spacers. So if you slide this in, it should fit perfectly. So that would be a perfect 24 millimeters. If it is not fitting in here for you, a couple of things that could be going on. First of all, make sure that your bearings are completely seated inside the wheel. You can do this by putting the bearing in and putting it on like the side of a table and pushing it down until you hear the pop. Also make sure that the wheel spacer is 10 millimeters. You know, you could have a longer wheel spacer, which means that it would push it out a little bit, which means that if it's 24 millimeters, it's actually going to be like 24.5 millimeters, which means that it won't fit snug within the frame. It'll have a really hard time getting in there. Another thing to consider is, depending on the frames, there might be some shrinkage. Again, I own 50/50, so I know firsthand plastic shrinks. And even though these juice blocks are 28 millimeters wide, because there's a 2 millimeter frame spacer, and they fit in without frame spacers, they're 28 millimeters wide. They should fit no problem. We still have people who are having a problem getting wheels into the middle. It's just a common issue. And it's not good. I think all plastic frames should be 24 millimeters between their frame spacers, but sometimes they're a little tighter. If it's too wide, if it's really hard to get in, a couple tips that I usually tell people. First thing to do, when you get the frame spacers in, push it in as far as you can and just give it a little whack, pop, like that. You should be able to move it with that whack so that it moves just a little bit in. It's not going to move all the way in, but just a little bit in. When it moves a little bit in, you take a tool and you shove it in here and you just start moving it around until you can get it perfectly centered. And when you can get it perfectly centered, that's when you put the axles in. Long story short, you're not going to find a wheel that's thinner than the Chris Haffey Eulogy wheel. If this is the thinness that you're talking about, that Chris Haffey Eulogy wheel is 24 millimeters. Eulogy makes really good wheels, and they've made really good wheels for like 30 years. They know what they're doing. They made a 24 millimeter wheel. So there's a few places you can look. Make sure that your bearings are seated properly. Make sure that your frame spacers are seated properly, and make sure that the frame isn't warped. If that is all good, then push it in there, give it a whack on the ground, and then start moving it around so that you can get it seated. It sucks, and that's plastic frames for you. Once you get them in, they're going to be riding fine. And you want them tighter than you want them loose, but it's a problem with plastic frames. I've experienced it. I know other frame companies have experienced it. You're probably experiencing it. It sucks, and I'm sorry. Just give it your best shot. It's not the wheels. It's probably your frames. All right. Couple more questions. Jeered Cuppins. Do you feel the V-cut in the liner? Because there's no V-cut in the cuff on the SL. Great question. Let me put these cuffs back in. Jump to the chase. No, I don't feel it. But let me show you what you're talking about. Show everybody else what you're talking about so that... oops, I bent it. Problem is, this thing is like cardboard. It's very weak. Oh my god. All right, slide on in there. Where's the liner? Just threw it around. I'm throwing things. I'm so unorganized. I'm actually really organized in my work life, but the skating and it's a little unorganized. All right, V-cuff. I'm assuming that this is what you're talking about. So the back of this liner is V-cut, and what that means is instead of the traditional, look at this FSK skate again. See the back of this FSK skate. This liner is completely flat on the top. So there's no room for your ankle to flex back. It keeps your ankle more upright. These go down in what people call a V-cut. So this liner is a V-cut liner. This cuff is not a V-cut cuff. So this cuff, if you look at what is a V-cut cuff? Aeon. This Aeon is a V-cut cuff. See this nice little scoop. That's so that your ankle can lean back a little bit, has a little bit more room, a little bit more flexibility, so that when you're doing topside tricks, when you're doing sole tricks, you can flex down a little bit more. Feels really good. This SL doesn't have that. Do I notice it? No, I don't notice it at all. I don't know that I'm ever touching the cuff or what. I think the reason is that this liner is so thick that you see, you can see this angle where my ankle needs to be. I'm just now touching the cuff, and that's how far the angle needs to be. Because this cuff is so bulky, I feel like it keeps me so far in front of the tip of the cuff that I'm not going to feel that V-cut where the V-cut would be. I don't feel the back of the cuff at all. Now, that's not to say that you won't. You might be more sensitive in that back of your ankle area. I don't. And I don't know of anybody that does. I've heard that question a lot, and I've never addressed it, but I think that it is something that people need to be aware of. Maybe you can get V-cut SL cuffs? I don't know. I don't know. It would be nice if they made them, though. I do like that again, these aren't designed for this liner. They're designed for the stock liner. I do like that these V3s, the rain liners, are V-cut, and I think that the cuff should match. I think that's a really good look. I think it looks kind of silly that it drops below the cuff, but it's not functional. It's not a problem with function. I don't have any issues skating with it, and I don't rub. Hope that answered your question. Brian, no problem. Always appreciate it. Thanks for letting me know that I helped you. I like to talk and I like to answer questions, but I don't know that I'm saying what you want me to say. Got a lot in my head. Sometimes it comes out in sentences that people can understand. If I'm not making sense, let me know. The coin hoarder. Do you know a good skate for me? I'm 14. Well, welcome to blading. Oh, hey, you checked out my Blade Runner video. Awesome. Where are the Blade Runners? Oh, they're over here. Here they are. These things very similar to that design that the Salomons had with the bottom area. Yeah, I forgot about these skates. These things are super light compared to any of the aggressive skates. Well, I'm glad that I was able to help you. The Blade Runners are a quality skate for the price. I would definitely upgrade the... What's that smell? I would definitely upgrade the wheels. These wheels, as you can see, this was one session. These wheels are destroyed already. And you saw my skating. I was only there for an hour. So definitely upgrade the wheels. But the bearings are fine. They're great. If you need new axles to get rid of the brake, you're going to have to buy your own. But yeah, they were quality skates. So you're 14. It's an excellent question. I'm assuming that your foot is still growing. And that can be a problem. My daughter's skates, where are her skates? Oh, she has them in the house now. So she has a pair of these adjustable fitness skates. They have this little crank area in the back. It's very similar to this design, but there's a little crank in the back that gets longer or shorter. So this toe area can get longer or shorter for when her foot grows. I think it caps out at a size 4 though. So I don't know that it's going to help you. You're 14, you probably have bigger feet. So you're probably going to have to get a standard size. If all you're looking for is a recreational skate, there are plenty of good kid skates for recreational. Again, it just depends on what size your foot is. I would definitely, from what I'm looking at, I would definitely recommend something with like 4x80. I think this is the best way if you're just learning how to skate, the best way to learn how to skate. Any of these aggressive skates, like you can get a pair of these Majestic 12s. These are, probably like $150, no more than $200. But they're going to come like this, and this is not going to be a fun way to skate. If you need to learn how to skate, you're going to want to have big wheels. You're going to want to have something with like 80 millimeter wheels. These are designed for tricks. They're low profile, so when you land, you're a lot lower to the ground, lower center of gravity. So you're doing spins and stuff, and you can land with a little more solid feeling. They're good for grinds, so you've got the anti-rocker wheels in here so that when you jump on handrails, when you jump on ledges, and you grind on the ledges, they're not going to catch up. Obviously, these aren't designed for that. But these wheels are like twice the size of these wheels. You're going to skate much faster. You're going to have a much better time skating with these wheels. You're going to have a much more fun skating with these wheels. If all you're doing is skating, definitely get some bigger wheels. I don't really have a good answer for you. I would stick with the brands. I would stick with Rollerblade. I would look at what K2 is doing. I don't have any experience with any of those skates, though, so I hesitate to recommend anything. Powerslide is a great brand. I don't know where you are, but you can find Powerslide at a few places as well. There's a lot of really great quality brands up there. Shouldn't cost you a ton of money. Just make sure that you know that wheels are easy to replace. What you really want to focus on is a comfortable boot. Your boot is what's important. You can always get new wheels. You can always get new bearings. But if your boot hurts, you're never going to have fun skating. So make sure that you focus on getting a good, comfortable boot. Something soft boot is probably what you need. Something that fits your foot really well. Something that's not going to break the bank. You don't want to spend a ton of money on skates just to not like them. Welcome to skating, though. I think it's great that that you found the video, and it's awesome that you're joining us in the live stream. I'm sure the chat's going to have a few more comments for you, but yeah, if you have any other questions, feel free to leave a comment in here, or find me on Instagram or on Facebook or on the backtoblading.com website. I love talking with people and recommending skates. Joseph Lux says that this liner does come out. I believe you. There is a bolt at the back, so maybe this bolt is keeping it in there. Yeah, it looks like it is. You're probably right. Feels like it can come out. I'm not going to take it out tonight, but yeah, super interesting design. I love it. I think it's a great skate. Weird that a bolt would bolt into the friggin' liner, right? Like, how's that going to work? Anyway, good design. Sean Michelson, you have a decent amount of knowledge about molds. Do you know why some skate companies destroy certain molds? Why some aren't? Why did the M12 mold last long versus the Throne mold? It's a good question. I think that the M12 mold was a better quality mold. I think the Throne mold was cheap. I don't know a ton about molds. I know that when we brought back 50/50, they had to test the molds because it had been 10 years since they produced any frames. The molds have a lifespan with them, like anything, you know. Things get chipped, things get moved around in a factory and get knocked around. Also, as often as you produce things, it can just wear over time. I mean, even you know, a brass rail or something, you put your hand on it enough, it's going to start wearing. I think the Throne mold was pretty cheap to produce to begin with. And remember that they made a ton of those thrones, and it wasn't just USD using those molds. So it was probably 20, 30 years worth of using that mold. That's probably all that it had in it. And you'll see that the small, they actually came back with the small thrones for the kids skate. Those are the same mold, but because they made less of them, they could still make them. The normal sizes, like the 42, the 40, and 46 range, those are just, they've just been used so much that they're not going to stick around. M12 is a very interesting one. I got to assume that the way that they made that mold in Italy is a very different process than the way that they made it in China. It's got to be a better quality material. It's got to be, a stronger material. Maybe it's taken better care of. There's a lot of factors that could explain why the M12 is still around. We're also assuming that it's the same mold. Like, we don't know. We're taking their word for it. Maybe they replaced the molds and never told us. I don't know. All that I do know is that the Throne mold was broken. It was so bad that they couldn't use it anymore. The Salomon molds, I hear, are the same boat. They made a ton of those Salomon skates, and I think they're just not good anymore. That Salomon mold is questionable, though, because they only had that mold from, 2000 until 2012 or so. That's not a very long time for those molds. So maybe something happened. Maybe it broke. Maybe broken transfer or something like that. It's a really good question, though. I think ultimately, though, if you make a quality mold, you can get a long life out of them. I don't know how many pressings you can make from a mold, but if you take care of the mold, I mean, it's a really good investment. And that's why you see people investing in injection molding. Marlon John, short and sweet, do you know how to get rid of the pressure point on the ankle? Not short, not sweet, but I'll take a stab at it. I'm assuming that you're talking about little areas on the side. There's a couple ways you can do it. Depending on your skates, you can heat mold the skate. So a lot of liners are heat moldable. What do I have that's heat moldable? Oh, these, oops. Yeah, there they are. VCuts. So I have these VCut liners. These are the VCut Fat Boys. These are heat moldable liners. So if the liner is replaceable, like most hard shell boots are, you can heat mold this liner. What that means is that you heat it up for like 20 minutes at 80 degrees Celsius. It's like 220 Fahrenheit. And it gets into this like pliable sort of material state. You put your foot in there, you let it soak in, and you tie it up like normal, and you sit for 15 minutes, and you let the cuffs adapt to your foot. I don't recommend doing that unless you do have pain. If you have pain in your feet, that's probably a good time to do it. Every time you heat mold it, it breaks down the liner. If you heat mold your liners, they won't last as long. So don't do it unless you have to, but if you have heat moldable liners and you have pain, it's the first thing that you should do. If you heat mold it and it still hurts, what you should do is, when you heat mold it the second time, you should put something in there with your ankle. So like put, I don't know, not your cell phone. I have my cell phone here. Put like playing cards, or put like a piece of wood or something like that that would cover up the pressure point area. That way when it heat molds, it cools off and it takes the form. You pull out your foot with the little object. When you put your foot back in, you'll have a little more area in there, so it won't rub anymore. It won't give that pressure point. Lastly, if you don't have a heat moldable liner, and if this doesn't solve your problem at all, I've seen people have good success with using a golf ball or a tennis ball and heating up the area that's causing a pressure point and pushing it in so that it can mold that plastic or that material out. I've never had to do that personally, but I know that it works because people have said that it worked. A heat gun is like $50 or so. You can use a hair dryer. Make sure that your wife's okay with it, or you are okay with that. I don't have hair, so I don't have a hair dryer. But hair dryers are good. Heat it up a little bit. Put that soccer ball, that would be a really big skate. Put that golf ball in there or that tennis ball and just kind of mush it around. Give yourself a little bit of an arch. That should free up a little bit of material so that your foot doesn't have the pain. I don't know that that helped you. A few options that you can try. Again, like I said before, feel free to email me or send me a message on Instagram or on Facebook. I love trying to answer these questions. It's one of those things that is hard to do in a live stream, but I'm more than happy to help. So please reach out if it doesn't help you. All right, I'm already at an hour. Geez, this one flew by. Dr. W writes again, thanks for the answer. That's kind of what I thought. Was thinking about with the money factor, and I'm really interested in seeing those new boots. Yep. It's very interesting. I hope that Power Slide brings it out, because this is a really interesting skate. These ones don't fit me. I think there's a size 9. Yeah, they're a 42, so it would be hard for me to fit in, but maybe I can put a liner in there. Oops, I just dropped it. If I do that liner trick, maybe I can swap a liner in there, like a Skinny Boy or something like that. Oh, Eli, thanks so much about the wheels. The problem was with the bearing spacers were sideways. Yep, that happens all the time, and you don't notice it. It sucks. Everything is as precise as it can be, but it's not super precise. You're going to find a lot of variances with stuff. Frames break, wheels break, there's shrinkage. It's rollerblading, it's not a precision automobile or something like that. And I bet that there's problems like that with cars as well. Glad I could help. It sucks when you can't figure it out. So it's good to hear. Brent Masada, did you see the wakeboarding company that's still using the thrown molds? I did. I don't know if they are still using the molds or if they have a ton of those shells and that's what they use. They're expensive. The margins have got to be crazy on those things. They're probably like $300 boot only. That doesn't include a liner. So bizarre. Yeah, I don't know if they bought a ton of them before the molds broke or what. But Yeah, it's an open mold, so anybody could have made them back in the days. I don't think Powerslide ever owned that throne mold, so maybe I can see if I can find and bring them back. Shouldn't set that out loud. I have no ambition of bringing in boots. I think that looking at these boots is all that I want to do. I don't have enough room in my garage to be a boot company, but yeah, super interested. I don't know where the wakeboard company is getting them, but they must have a supply. Anuj, any plans on making fitty fitty wheels in other sizes? Yes, we have 60s coming. These are the 6090s that I'm testing. They're a nice round profile. They'll be available next month. After that, I don't know. I would be curious to hear what other people think of wheel sizes. See, I think aggressive kind of stops at 60. I've never skated a 65 mil frame that I really liked. I do have a pair of the Megas, and I have a pair of 65 mil wheels that I'm going to test. I've heard a lot of really good things about it. But I feel like 65 might be bumping up into that big wheel side versus the aggressive side. I think that they're really fun speed. Like, you still get a good coast out of 65s, but that's a little big for me. I think aggressive should accelerate really quickly on mini ramp. And, skating flat 55 was an amazing feeling. It wasn't ideal, but an amazing feeling because you get to top speed so quickly with a 55 millimeter wheel. A 65 would take longer. And I don't know that you want that. I think aggressive, 60 should probably be the max. So we do have 60s coming in. We have 58s already in stock. And I think we're going to keep experimenting with the 60s and the 58s until I see a need otherwise. I think smaller wheels might be something that I'd experiment with. Maybe a 55 or a 56. I loved skating 56s back in the days. So that's something that I'm definitely interested in. But I need to find a reason. Like, if there's a reason that a 56 would be better than the 58 with the profile that we have, I don't know it. You're not going to get any more wheel bite with a 56 or a 58 than you are with a 56, a regular 56. So that's not it. You're going to get a little faster with the 58. You're probably going to get a little faster acceleration with the 56. So that might be something to look into. But yeah, I don't know. I need to get some 56s to test. Skating these frames 56 flat, I think that could be a really fun ride. Just like the old Julio Cosmos, right? All right, I think we're good. I was going to talk about other free skate options that are UFS. I'm going to hold that for next time because I'm losing my voice. It's been an hour already, and I didn't bring a drink. So thank you all for coming tonight. Quick reminder, blading community this month is your favorite trick. So you have until the end of October to get a clip of your favorite trick and upload it to backtoblading.com/community. If you're not familiar with blading community, this is our 12th month of getting the community together and producing a single edit with everybody doing the same trick. So we started with a Machio grind, we did a 180, we did 360s, we did toe rolls and heel rolls, we did soul grinds, we've done a lot of different tricks. And every month, everybody does the same trick, and we all upload our clips, and I put them into a single edit, and I put them on the Back to Blading channel so that everybody can see everybody else skating around the world and doing the same trick. This month, we're doing something a little different. This is our 12th month, marks a year of doing the Blading Community Challenge. We're going to allow you to do any trick you want. So you get one single trick. A lot of people ask for clarification on that. Don't really overthink it. If you consider it a trick, it's a trick. If it's, a line where you're doing one grind and then you skate to another grind, or you do, a 360 and then you do a grind, that's not a single trick, that's a line. Don't submit a line because it's harder for me to edit and figure out which trick you want. But if you're doing a toe roll between tricks, just like in Tony Hawk Pro Skater, just like in Rollin', if they consider it a trick and you get the points, that's what I would consider a trick. So, backtoblading.com/community for more information. Upload your clips. You have till the end of October. I think you have the 28th of October, so you got 2 more weeks. Would love to see everybody participate. This is going to be a really big one. There is no excuse. If you have a 180, if you have a parallel slide, if you have a soul grind, any trick you can do, just jumping down some stairs, we want you to be part of this edit. So backtoblading.com/community, would love to see your tricks. And if you have any questions about this video or anything that I discussed, please get me on Instagram, Back to Blading, or Facebook, Back to Blading. I would love to answer your questions and have a better conversation. Until next time, have a great week, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.